Welcome to Slasher Sunday. So, alright. Friday the 13th, part 8. Jason now is in New York for some reason. Okay, so, and that's just it. Like, I don't understand why he's in New York. Like, they try to make it work with the Rennie stuff, and like, he pulled at her ankle when she's a kid, so now he has to come back and finish the job, I guess, is the reasoning, and he just so happens to get a boat, and he goes and sails a boat from a lake to an ocean somehow, and then he gets on the boat, and then he has to kill her, but he goes after 100 different people before her, and he chases her to New York. And even though Jason drowned as a kid, like, he couldn't swim as a kid, now he can swim from the middle of the ocean to New York. But whatever, it doesn't matter. We're here to talk about the special features for the Scream Factory edition, which is nothing. There's nothing new. It's all the shit from before. As I've said, I'm still watching these commentaries and stuff for the first time, which is cool, but it's nothing new. It's nothing that I'm like talking about that hasn't been out since 2008. Okay, 2008. This is fucking 13 years old material that I'm talking about in all of these videos, outside of a few things that have been added in the Scream Factory box set. I'm telling you guys, this box set, it's just there for the transfers. That's all you buy it for, and the artwork and how cool it looks to have them all together and all that stuff. Now, I'm going to watch that last bonus disc that's supposed to have all the best stuff on it. I look forward to that, but as of right now, what's actually on each individual thing, not good. Not all that good. But whatever. Anyways, much like in every goddamn one of these, every director kind of starts with saying, like, I was told this was going to be the last. So I was writing it to be the last, and I shot it to be the last. It's like I keep hearing that. It's like, damn, how many times did they try to end this franchise? But they just could not keep Jason dead. Haha, right? Irony, right? And there was a Sean that was cast in this film, and then he was recast about 2 weeks later. I think you see him, I'm pretty sure that's the actor who plays him in the Goofs. They have the gag reel, and in that you get to see this kid for doing like one scene with Rennie and everything. And it's like, if that's him, the performance from him, now the performances in this movie are not very good, right? Obviously, but they're 100 times better than the performance I saw in there. Holy fuck, it's bad. It's bad. It's some of the worst I've ever seen in my life, and I was like, oh wow, that must be the kid they recast for obvious reasons. Absolutely dreadful. Actually made me laugh. The MPAA, man, back at it again. They shot a bunch of gore for this, had to cut all of it out. Why? Like, I get it. Like, I don't get it. So I shouldn't say I get it, but I get what their reasoning was. I don't agree with it, so I don't get it. What about the kids that might see this? Who gives a fuck? Hey, if you're going to see a Friday the 13th movie, you're going to see kills. Like, what's the point of being there? But that's it, right? The MPAA and Hollywood and whatnot, they kind of wanted to get rid of these movies. So neutering them down to a level where the fans wouldn't even be interested anymore makes sense, because they're like, fuck them. Everyone's there for the kills. If we cut all the kills out, they'll stop going to them. Well, they still fucking made 12 of these things. So I don't think that really worked, per se, but all it did is really hurt the films. This isn't a good film, and this is definitely one of the worst in the franchise, and it would have been better had it had great kills. I mean, imagine this movie with awesome, over-the-top, fantastic kills. It would be considerably better. Like, everybody's death was on-screen and graphic as fuck. People would regard this much, much higher. But because it's so tame, I mean, it could seriously almost get a PG-13 rating. Like, it's that neutered. So, I'm trying to think, like, yeah, there's some drug use. There's a couple uses of fuck and whatnot, but you could cut all of that stuff out pretty easily. And I feel like you could get a PG-13 rating on this. This shit is tame as fuck, which is just super annoying. The director on this film is kind of a kind of I don't know what word to use here. I can tell you this: the guy definitely knows how to get girls naked on screen. Like, the girl, the blonde with the shit painted on her body. I honestly haven't seen this movie enough in my adult life to remember everyone's characters' names. For some reason, I want to say it's Tamara. Is that right? No, I don't think that's right. Whatever the fuck it is. She had a problem getting in the shower, and so the director took all of his clothes off and got in the shower with, everyone around, and was like showering. So he says, look, I can get naked. Now, I think that story's told with like a fondness to it and whatnot, but I feel like that could easily have been misconstrued and be used against him. And I feel like if it happened these days, it would be 100%. Imagine a young girl who's worried about taking her clothes off. So some older director guy takes all of his clothes off and gets in the shower and starts showering in front of her. And he would be thought of as a creep, right? Like, what, do you get naked in front of me? Like, you know what I mean? I don't see that playing as well these days, but everyone in here, he's the one who tells the story in this with fondness, kind of a fond memory, but I could see that getting flipped on other directors. So I'm glad, because she seemed to laugh about it and loosen up to it, and everyone on the set thought it was funny. So I'm glad that people remember that fondly, because I feel like there's a lot of things that happened once upon a time and are now shit on by people and are like used against people, like they're thought of as villainous because of actions that they committed 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 30 years ago, where it was just a different time and people were just different. People used words like faggot and retard and stuff like that, and that might not be PC today, but back then mostly no one gave a shit, and it wasn't a big deal. But if you try to bring that kind of stuff up now, like, oh my god, he said this, it's like, it's different time, and you cannot hold people accountable unless it's outrageously horrible, like something where it's like, okay, that doesn't matter what time period that was done in, that's obviously awful. Like, if you fucking murder somebody, obviously, or rape somebody, that was never okay in any time period. But it's just, I don't know, there's a lot of things that get dredged up from the past now, like old tweets from 20 fucking years ago, and people are getting fired from their jobs for making some. James Gunn, of course, being one of those primary examples of like something he did 15 years ago, jokes that he made. Jokes, come on, people, jokes. If you don't like jokes, just, be offended and turn your fucking head. It's a joke. I can't believe people actually get upset about jokes. That will always be baffling to me. I don't care what joke it is. It literally could be anything. Jokes are jokes. You can't take fucking jokes seriously, and if you do, you're an asshole. Anyways, moving on from that. They they actually filmed the shower sequence when he got in the shower, the director, and they sent it to I think Paramount probably, as part of the dailies, and I guess they were like trying to trip them out, like, what the fuck are these guys filming over there? I thought that was pretty funny. The scene where Jason is fighting Julius, the actor was actually punching him in that scene, and he said that his hands were actually bloodied and swollen and whatnot, and what they show, the blood's fake, I'm sure, but he said the swollen knuckles and all that were definitely real, because he was really, really getting his ass kicked. And he said that he said that they had a professional boxer that was doing some of it, and that he was doing some like body blows and this and that, and he was pulling his punches pretty well because he's a professional boxer and he knows how to do that stuff. But the actual actor who was playing it was punching him a lot, and that guy was hitting him way harder than the professional boxer because he didn't know how to throw his punches, and he wanted to, make it look real, and Kane was getting kind of his ass kicked in those sequences. So that was also really interesting. And there's a scene that was cut where the kid Jason that ends up in the sewer at the end, which is such a dumb fucking thing that this director came up with. And as I said earlier, I don't know what to say about the director, but his commentary, I listened to about 5 minutes of it before I decided, because I always pick the director's commentary because I figure they're going to give me the most insight, right? They're the guy, he's the writer and the director, so I thought he was going to give me all this insight. I was 5 minutes in, I couldn't handle it anymore. It was insufferable. He was saying, he was pointing out every obvious thing imaginable, and I was like, bro, I cannot listen to this for more than like another minute. Like, this is crazy. He was talking to the audience like they had never seen the film before, and also like he was like Captain Obvious on everything. It was like, oh hey, there's those guys, they're gonna come back later, so keep your eye out for them. And then here's this, oh look at this will come back. See that what we do is this and that, and it's like, yeah, okay, obviously, and it just keeps happening over and over and over and over again. Like, he's like, oh, and there's some kids, and you know they're obviously gonna be meeting their demise soon. And see, now there's Jason, and he's coming up onto the boat. Oh, see, now he's on the deck. I'm not kidding. That's his commentary. It's like Jason grabbing on it. He's like, oh, down. Now there's Jason. Okay, now he's giving like a blow by blow. That's what it was. It was like he was narrating or commentating on what was happening. Like, if, like, let's say you were trying to watch a movie through a radio announcer. You know how like you turn on the radio and you listen to a sports game and the commentator's on there and he's like, you know, fucking Worthy passes it over to fucking whoever, right? Like that, like a total play-by-play. This is what he was doing in the review, in the commentary. He's like, oh, now there's the kids, and oh, they're probably gonna die soon. Oh, and here comes Jason. Oh, now he's up on the boat, and I'm like, is this like translation for the blind? Like, what the fuck is happening right now? I could not listen to it. I made it maybe 10 minutes in, and I was like, nope. And I switched over to the actors, Kane Hodder, and then the people who play Sean and Rennie. Much better decision. Now, we'll get to them in a minute, but I could not do it. I couldn't do it. But anyways, and he made some insanely dumb choices throughout this film, so I don't know. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of the guy as a director and as a commentator on his own film. So his film is pretty terrible, and his commentary on his film is pretty terrible. But he does seem like a good guy, so I kind of feel bad saying that. I feel like I'm talking shit about the dude, which I am, but I don't mean it to be mean. I mean it to be truthful, which is always what I'm doing here. But anyways, he had a scene where instead of like well, I don't know if it's instead of, but in addition to, maybe at the end scene when Jason's dying and he becomes a kid for some fucking reason, there was going to be a close-up of Jason's mouth, and it was going to be the kid inside Jason's mouth screaming, "Mom, help me, help me." And they actually show it in the gag reel because they actually filmed that, and the kid's in there, which the kid, I don't know if it's the same kid in every shot, or if in one of those sequences a kid who plays Jason is the editor's son. I think that's the case. I think it is the Jason throughout the kid Jason, but that's cool. And then the waitress who works in the diner who says like, "Welcome to New York," she's the director's sister, so there's some attachments. And Rennie, the actress, dated the one kid who's Sean's best friend, with like the Beatles haircut. I can't remember his name in the movie. What doesn't matter. I have it in the notes somewhere, but yeah, those are dated. Miles is the character's name. That's right. Yeah, this is, as I said, this is one I have not watched very often. Can you guys hear that beeping? You hear that? Is that picking it up? I don't know if that's like someone's like fucking security alarm going off in their house. It is so unbelievably distracting, though. Hey guys, I'm trying to do a one-take thing here. Okay, I can't just pause this and edit it when he fucking stops, you cunts. Anyway, so then I think we're getting into the commentary now. Yeah, we are. Okay. I will say, I'll say this up front, because I did quite like the actors who played Rennie and Sean in this, like their commentary. I thought that they really were having a great time reminiscing about this film. But as usual, they don't know fucking shit about this franchise. Like, or Kane Hodder, who was also there with them. He was being phoned in, but they were talking to him, but they weren't in the same room as him. Their knowledge of horror, this franchise, and of Kane Hodder's career is shockingly abysmal. Like, I was like, wait, what? He was like, how many more movies did you play Jason in after this? And he was like, after this, 2. And he was like, oh, so 3 altogether? And he's like, no, I played one before this as well. And they're like, oh, okay. And then he's like, yeah, and then they took me to space. And he's like, they took you to space? And she's like, they did? Oh, yeah, I think I heard about that. What? You were in Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan, and you don't know of Jason X? Really? Really? Like, you were the fucking star of a Friday the 13th film, and you didn't, like, pay attention to the franchise after you left at all? Not at all. I don't need you to be an expert on the fucking situation. But to not know Jason X exists? I don't even know what to say about that. That's almost offensive. Like, they can do whatever they want. It is what it is. I know not everyone's a horror fan, and I probably take this shit too seriously. I try not to be. I really don't honestly care. At the end of the day, who gives a fuck? But when I was listening, I was like, really? You seriously don't know Jason X? You don't know that? Almost everybody knows Jason went to space. You were a star of a Friday the 13th film. You don't know that. And then he was like asking him, like, the guy who played Sean, he asks him, like, so have you ever done any horror movies besides these? Have you done any since? Has Kane Hodder ever done any horror movies since Friday the 13th? Seriously? And this is 2008, I think this was recorded in, so this is 20 years later. Kane Hodder, one of the biggest names in horror fucking history. I don't know, man. That's just, as I said, it was kind of like, I don't really care, but come on, man. Come on. Like, you know Kane Hodder personally. You've hung out with him. Like, you did a movie with him. You've been around him a lot. Like, you can't, and he knew that the girl in the opening who's on the boat making out with her boyfriend and gets killed by getting stabbed in the chest, which there's a goof reel thing where Jason, like, opens up the door and he has a huge prosthetic dick that they attached into his crotch area to look like his dick, so when he opens it up it's like a gag and she sees his big dick. It's pretty funny. She screams, but she should have started laughing. Like, it's so ridiculous. It's the kind of looks wooden. It doesn't look like a real dick or anything. That was pretty funny. But yeah, he kept, like, he knew that girl is now a screenwriter because she had at that point written the screenplay for Nancy Drew, the one with Emma Roberts. She now just then recently did the movie with Emma Roberts again. So she's worked with Emma Roberts twice, that lucky ass bitch. She worked with her on Holiday, which I actually did watch with a girl I was hanging out at the time. She wanted to watch it, so I watched it. It's not very good, to say the least. It's one of those movies that's like, we have an idea, you know, we have a gimmick for the plot of the movie, and we have to do everything to somehow make it work. So you just gotta, like, look past, like, oh, hello. That is a big bee. Okay. That's not distracting at all. There's this huge bee that's just flying around me. Oh, he's on me now. Anyway. But yeah, he kept up with her career. Probably because she's hot and Kane Hodder isn't to him. Maybe that's why he kept up with her. I have no idea. But alright, moving on. Let's see. And I like that. On the flip side of that, I love that Kane is, like, trashing dumb horror fans in this. He's like, people ask me all the time if I actually really kill people on the set. And he's like, I keep thinking they're kidding, but they're not. And I just look at him like, are you fucking stupid? Like, dude, he was trashing horror fans in this, and it was really funny. But, like, the dumb ones, the ones that deserve trashing, that was good stuff. And they point out that Wayne, the guy with the camera and the glasses who accidentally kills the deckhand or whatever that guy is, engine mechanic. I can't remember what the hell that guy does. They point out that he looks like Matt Damon, and I was looking, I was like, holy shit, he really does look like Matt Damon. Good call on that. So that was pretty cool. Rennie, of course, when I say Rennie or Sean, of course I'm going to be talking about the actors who played them. I don't know what their fucking actual names are. I actually do. It's Scott Reeves and Jensen Daggett. There you go. So we'll say Jensen. She mentioned MySpace in this, which shows you at what time period this came out in. But she also is talking about how she's not going to show this to her kids anytime soon because they're pretty young. I would assume they're probably in their 20s at this point now that this is 13 years old, this commentary, and her kids were like young. One of them was 3, I know that for sure, and the other one was maybe like 7, 8, somewhere in that area. So they're one of them's, I mean, in their 20s by now. Anyway, but she was talking about how there was, get off of me. There's just bugs crawling on me here. This is a terrible spot. My goodness, this adds to the horror. There's so many ants around my feet, and they're crawling on my legs. I love it. I love the one take thing, man. It's so funny. Everything stays. It's great. But yeah, her kids, she was talking about how, like, she was watching the movie and she's like, oh, this is the guy she dated right there. Anyway, she was talking about how, like, oh my god, they curse in this movie. Oh my god, they use drugs in this movie. She was like almost offended by the fact that she was in a movie that featured profanity and drug use. And I was like, oh, come on, you're in a fucking Friday the 13th movie. She, as I said, Jensen Daggett and Scott Reeves were really, really cool. Like, really, really cool the whole time. They had no goddamn clue what they were talking about when it came to the actual franchise and horror in general. That's okay. But their memory of it and the way they talked about it, they were really, really excited. They were having a great time. They were laughing a lot. They were genuinely good people. Like, I didn't mind that they didn't know these things because they were cool. If they were dicks about it, if they were being all like blasé and like, you know, highfalutin, I never get to say that term, I would then of course be blasting them like, fuck you guys. But they were having a great time. They seemed like genuinely good people, so it was fun to listen to them. Of course they were just trashing the movie and their performances the whole time, but good. I mean, it deserves to be trashed, so it makes perfect sense. And so Scott, or Sean, he points out that his neck looks absolutely ridiculous in the life preserver when they get on the boat, and it is pretty funny. Everybody else's is kind of like down here and their necks are free, and his is like this, and like when he tries to pull something out, he like has to turn his whole body to pick it up. It looks ridiculous. It looks like it's on a child, and I don't know why, because he's as big as like everyone else, but I don't know if they just gave him a bigger one as a joke or what, but it's really fun. When he pointed it out, even Kane was like, this might be my favorite part of the movie now. As you pointed this out to me. I never noticed it before, but it is ridiculous. And it is ridiculous. I have to agree. So that was pretty funny. The reason that the guy is wearing a towel on his face when he gets the rock shoved into his stomach, which is probably the best kill in the film, is because you actually get to see the rock go into his stomach, and it looks really cool. Is because they reshot that and it's a different actor that's doing it. So, and that's happened actually a few times. Kane had to put his hand over another guy's face as a stunt double. So there's a lot of face hiding in here because of that. And the fact that they use this stunt double, the blonde chick who gets thrown into the mirror, and that mirror was actually supposed to break, so Kane ad-libbed punching it and then grabbing it, which I actually love that he punches the mirror, so I'm glad it didn't break. I love those kind of happenstance, coincidental things that happen on set that become iconic. Like, of course, the most famous one being Indiana Jones just shooting the guy with the sword because he was sick on set and he couldn't do the fight. So he's like, well, what if I just took out my gun and shot him? Which is, you know, arguably one of my favorite moments in any film ever. It's just like, yeah, just shoot the fucking guy. You don't got time for this shit. You know, he's got a sword. Who brings a knife to a gunfight? This guy does, and he dies. I think I was going to say something there. Oh, the girl who plays the stunt double that throws herself into the mirror. It's so bad. It's so clearly a stunt double with a wig. When I was really paying attention to it this time, I was like, God, that looks horrible. But, you know, it is what it is. And then, yeah, I already talked about all that. Yeah, talked about that. He also asks Kane if he's been to many conventions, like horror conventions. Bro. The water that Jason has coming out of his mouth is actually, we all know this, but I mention it just because we're talking behind the scenes stuff. But most people know. But if you don't know, when Jason vomits up all that water, when he sees the toxic waste coming from, because they flush sewers with toxic waste. That's how sewers work. Every night at midnight, they just flush it with toxic waste. Don't you think that would be like some kind of like violation? Like flushing sewers with toxic waste? Probably not legal. Probably not. And for what? There's nothing down there. I don't. It's just they just what? All the like, you know. And this is New York City too. Like how many like industrial plants are in the middle of New York City that would even have that much toxic waste to get rid of? Like, this director really just, I don't know what to say about it. Anyway, I remember when I was a kid, though, I was like, they really do that? They flush? And I remember, like, looking at sewer systems all different when I was a kid. I'd be like, toxic waste just gets pushed through there every night? I was like, is that just in New York or what? Movies. But anyways, he really did vomit up the water. That was Kane. He drank, like, he said 2 liters of water and then just vomited it up. And Jason talks in that moment, right? Nobody gives shit to that, do they? Everyone shits on Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 for Michael Myers saying die. But Jason turns around and says, like, help me, mommy? Help me, mommy? Is that what he says? Something, mommy? Yeah. And then the original title of the film, or not the original title, but the working script title was Ashes to Ashes, because they were trying to hide that this was a Friday the 13th movie. But yeah, overall, just another like lackluster special features, but you know, it is what it is. I think that Jason Goes to Hell features a new commentary that was just done, so I'm looking forward to that, even though I hate that movie. That one's going to be rough for me, but I think that one's going to have some decent special features on it, I hope. And then we're getting close, man. We're 2/3 of the way done. We got 4 more left, and this is, I don't know, in a way I'm kind of glad that I'm doing this, but in another way I definitely don't look forward to it as much as I wish I did. But I committed to it, so I'm doing it. I'll finish the fucking thing. And finding the time has been the biggest problem. I just watched this today while cleaning the house, and then I'm doing this while my kids are inside playing my girlfriend in Apex Legends. So my girlfriend is currently fighting 8-year-olds because she's never played before, and she's trying to get better. She's taking on 8-year-olds. That's how to get better. Anyways, well, until next week, I got to figure out what to do for Monster Monday. We'll see. All right, adios.